After all of my years of homeschooling through all of the ages and the stages, and actually homeschooling in a few different states and being in co-ops and not in co-ops, in church groups and having different groups of friends of that homeschool, and then interacting with you, whether that's online or in person, I have noticed that there is one thought pattern that consistently leads to a successful homeschool. Are you ready for it? It is that moms who take it seriously are the successful ones. Let me explain. But first, welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast. I am your host, Leigh Nguyen. I am a homeschooling mom that has 2 graduates, and we are really getting close to graduating my final homeschooler. It is just a bittersweet time, and I am just soaking in all of this with him and the homeschooling. And you and I might be similar. I never planned to homeschool. I put my kids into school, and then God called us to a different path, and guess what? We jumped in with 2 feet. It was not always easy, but we have never looked back. And I am so glad that you are here and that you have joined me for today's podcast episode. So welcome. Before we get into me explaining a little bit more, I'm going to flesh this out. I want to let you know that Reimagine Your Homeschool is still open. It's only open until next week for you to join. You will have that resource forever and ever for you to be able to go through. But if you want to get in on that, you're going to need to do so before next Friday, January 9th. It will close at the end of that day. In Reimagine Your Homeschool, we are going to create that successful homeschool that you want, because you're listening to this episode and I know that's what you want. And today's episode is going to give you some, but then when you want to take it to the next level, that's going to be Reimagine Your Homeschool, and it's going to help equip you to achieve what you're going to set that ground level and this way of thinking about homeschool that we're going to talk about today. Reimagine Your Homeschool is going to add a lot more flesh to it, and it's going to help you actually like boots on the ground and to actually do the things that you need to in order to be successful. You can get more information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/reimagine, and the link for anything I ever mention is always going to be in the show notes for you. But hurry up. You only have, it's January 1st right now. So you're probably maybe celebrating, partying, or maybe you're up too late last night and you guys are sleeping in today. But you really only have a week until next Friday to be able to join. And I can't wait to work with you over there. So let's talk now about the fact that you want to be a successful homeschool mom. I mean, I think we all should want to. But unfortunately, I think that there are some moms that don't. I have run into them more so online than necessarily in person. I feel like I tend to attract the moms who want to be successful and who want to be intentional. And the ones who attend Little by Little Homeschool Conference are definitely the ones that want to be successful and want to be intentional. But I've run into it a little bit online, and it also tends to creep in when people will attack you online. Again, it's always online. And say things negative about homeschoolers and, well, I know these homeschoolers, they don't do anything. And yes, there are going to be some parents out there who find it easier to just tell the school district, because in some states there are not strict homeschool regulations, and they just say, we're homeschooling, or they fill out the paperwork and then they don't do anything with their child. But I know that is not you. I know you are working at it. So you are more successful than possibly some other homeschoolers, but we're not going to compare ourselves to them. We're going to pray for them. If you run into them, try to encourage them and see how you can come alongside them so that their kids can be equipped to be successful themselves when they get out into the world. But you at least have a baseline here. And maybe today you're looking to take it to the next level. And then, of course, the next level beyond that is going to be Reimagine Your Homeschool, so we can reset it and get it good to go and excited for this, I was just going to say new homeschool year. It's not, but it kind of feels like a little bit of it, right? Because there's just a fresh start after having a little bit of break for the holidays. So what do I mean when I say that the moms who take it seriously are the successful homeschool moms? And really, I'm just going to say it flat out. It's going to sound very simple, but you have to think of homeschool as your job. Now, let's think about when you've had a job. Now, you might have a full-time job, you might have a part-time job, but I'm going to talk right now just because this is my experience. But when I haven't had a job outside of the home, I've done things online, I've done things from home, but It would have been when my daughter was 6 months old, and she's 23 now. So I can think back now, though, to having jobs, and I had a lot of different jobs starting at the age of 16. And when you have a job, you're required to be there at set times, right? You're required to perform in a certain way. You might be required to dress in a certain way, to act a certain way, and to actually carry out specific duties that you were hired for. And what happens if you don't meet those? It might first just start off with a boss or a manager pulling you aside. Let's just go with the example of being late. And you're finding yourself 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, and you're consistently late every day. And it really depends upon the atmosphere you work in and the type of place and the manager and maybe how strict they are. But it might be a job that, like, if you're not there, it's really important for you to be there on time. And it might be a job that they don't really care. Let's say it's a job that it's important for you to be there on time. They are going to pull you aside and say something. They might even have a protocol for how they go about, we'll say, disciplining you and letting you know. And eventually, you're probably going to lose your job. So here's the thing. When it comes to motherhood and when it comes to homeschooling, we aren't going to lose our job if we're late every day. If you say, we are starting homeschool because this is going to be good for us, we're going to have our rhythm of the day, and we're aiming to kind of start around 9 a.m. You don't have to have a solid start time if that's like makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Well, you could have a solid start time if that's like, okay, that actually makes me feel good. We have a set time that we start, but if it's a couple minutes late, it's like, whatever. It's not a big deal. So you have to go with what's kind of with your personality. But if you're just consistently always late, you might find that you're consistently not doing the homeschool, right? But you're not going to get fired from your job. You're not going to lose your position as a mom and as a homeschool mom. You might, if you live in a state with strict homeschool regulations and you don't turn in your stuff and you're not doing things, there are legal repercussions to that type of thing. But beyond that, I feel like that's an extreme case. That's not something that often happens to any of us. But if we think of it as our job, we'll show up, we'll do the work, we will maybe dress appropriately. Maybe you'll get dressed. I find that the days that I actually get dressed, and actually this homeschool year and the past couple of years, I have said to myself, show up ready for the day. And that has made a huge difference for me. Now, when my kids were younger, I would do the best that I could. I would maybe try to at least get some clean sweatpants on and say, get my teeth brushed, and we'll maybe put on makeup. You have to know the season of life and really what is most important. To me, it was more important for me to get some more rest and then to get up early and be all put together. But at this point right now, when we started homeschool, I am dressed for the day and I have my hair and makeup done. Now, I really don't do much of my hair. It's more so my makeup. It might take a little bit longer, but it just helps me to feel like I am showing up and this is important to me to show up in this way. And so when we are not showing up consistently and we aren't performing well, we aren't going to get fired. And so I think that can really make us as homeschool moms feel like it can lead to laziness. It can lead to just apathy. It can lead to just not caring and not putting the hard work in. Homeschooling is hard work. And it's going to be hard work for a few years or quite a few years, depending upon the personalities of your children, depending upon the amount of children that you have, depending upon the maybe age range of your kids. There's a lot of different factors, but there are going to be hard years. And if somebody tells you that there's no hard years, they are lying to you. There are hard years, but out of that hard refining years comes something beautiful and something precious. So when we look at homeschooling and we approach it as our job, we're going to take it seriously. And so I want you to think of it like that. And that might sound very, I guess I just feel like when you say to think of it as your job, you just take the emotion out of it, but we're not taking the emotion out of it. Just think of it in that way. So in other words, it is the priority. When you, say before children, and you worked full time, was it a priority for you to get to work? You're like, okay, I work 8 to 4:30. Yes, the rest of your day actually revolved around that. You were up at a certain time in order to get ready and to get into your car and get to work at a certain time. You didn't decide that you were going to go grocery shopping at 11 a.m. when your job actually required you to work 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. No, you went grocery shopping in the evening. Your job was the priority. Your homeschool Your motherhood, your home education, your raising of your children is the priority. Now, it's not just that. When I'm saying homeschooling, it's not just like the education and the curriculum has to be something that's super intense. It might be some years, and it might be intense for some kids. So when I am saying, though, that the priority, it's not just that this homeschooling, the home education and the curriculum. I'm not saying that it's just that has to be a priority. Let's also look at the priority of motherhood, and motherhood and homeschooling. Look at that as intertwined. We often have to stop what we're doing when it comes to homeschool because we need to disciple or discipline or guide a child. We need to reach their hearts. We need to, maybe there has to be some type of consequence or a punishment or something that happens in the middle of it. It is intertwined. It is not separate. You are not in a school where there is a teacher and at a certain point they're like, okay, you're a disruption. Go to the principal. Well, you might have dad as a principal. And we had for some years with my boys, I would just say to them, I just kind of got to the point as they got older. I was like, would you like to have a conversation with your father? And they were like, oh no. And they would straighten up. So it did help out in that way. But sometimes dad's not there, or dad doesn't work from home. He works out somewhere. He's on a business trip. He's traveling or whatever it is. But we have to realize that there's going to be a lot of interruptions and a lot of things, but all of that is the priority. It's the taking care of our home. It is the raising of our children's, of their minds, of their hearts, of their souls, of directing them towards God and creating their own faith within them and showing them that path and modeling that to them. And so motherhood and homeschooling, all of that has to be intertwined, and it all is the priority. Now, thinking about homeschool as your job doesn't mean that you are hitting the books hard for hours and hours upon every single day, and everybody's crying and everybody's exhausted and they hate actually learning and everything. That's not what it is. Don't ignore their hearts, and don't ignore your family and your family culture. You're not, when I say it's a job, you're not coming down heavy-handed, and we aren't giving out marching orders. We don't have time clocks where they have to clock in and they have to clock out, and we become Captain Von Trapp. Why did I just mess up? Captain Von Trapp, right? Yes, from The Sound of Music. We don't have to become like him, blowing a whistle and all those types of things. You have your own style and your own way of doing things and your own way of communicating with your kids. So thinking of it as your job doesn't mean that you become a drill master when it comes to your homeschool, but it just means it is the priority. It is the focus. Let's think of this kind of a little bit in the opposite way. I find for myself that it's helpful sometimes when I think about something a little bit differently, and it helps to actually make the point click. So let's think of this a little bit opposite to help show you. If something is maybe a task, or you've been asked to do something, or you have volunteered to do something, or you have created your own maybe type of thing that you want to get done, and you don't think of it necessarily as your job, and no one's keeping track of you, and no one's looking after you. And after a while, your motivation and your energy for it and the drive for it tends to lower down. But if you think of it as your job, if you just think, so let's just go with an example of maybe creating some flower gardens around your house, and you're like, maybe it'll get done, maybe it won't get done. I actually think of that more so as my job. And guess what? I get those things done. And I have been able to create some, what I think is beautiful, beautiful on a budget, flowers and flower gardens around our homes and the various homes we've lived in. And we've done that with our kids. I've had them come right alongside me. They help me in the fall to plant the bulbs for the different flowers, the daffodils and the tulips that'll come up in the springtime. And that can be a part of the job too, is also beautifying your space, taking care of your home. And that's also been a really big thing. And I don't want to necessarily get into that aspect of the tidy home. If you want help with thinking about your home a little bit more as a job so that you actually get the chores and stuff done, you can get over to the tidy home. And the link for that is the show notes as well. But we can definitely start to lose energy and motivation to do something if we don't have the right mindset about it. And so that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that when we have the mindset about homeschool and we think of it as a job, we will actually set goals. We'll work towards getting those. We'll show up when we need to. We'll do the hard work. We'll do the heart work that we have to do in our children, and we'll allow God to do the heart work in us. And so when we talk about it being a job, it means, so we are like, well, what does this look like? It means you preparing your curriculum. It is thinking about planning out. It's thinking about, I like to plan out week by week. It really just helps me out. I've done that for years and years. And so sitting down, it doesn't have to take that long. But thinking about the week ahead, thinking about maybe the whole entire homeschool year. And at this point right now, when you're listening to this, thinking about the second half of the homeschool year. And it's thinking about the curriculum. It's planning it out. It's learning how to use the curriculum, and it's changing if it's not working for you. It is preparing the resources that you're going to use. It's planning maybe field trips. It is thinking through your plans, and it's thinking through your goals, and it's taking the time to look at those plans and those goals and saying, are they still realistic? Are we on our way to achieving these? It is spending your time wisely. It is taking time to do these things instead of scrolling mindlessly. It is even taking time to turn the phone off earlier in the evening and to go to bed and to get a good sleep. Because that's what you did when you had a job, right? When you had to go to work and be at work all day, you didn't need to be falling asleep in your office, or maybe you had some type of job where you really need a lot of energy. You're outside, you're moving around a lot, and you needed to get your rest. That is also a part of taking your job seriously as a homeschool mom. It is going to help lead you to success if you get to bed earlier and get a good night of sleep. I am preaching to the choir, and I have been really working on this, and I'm seeing myself just being able to do so much more during the day, having more energy because I'm getting myself to bed at night. I'm turning the phone off. Well, sometimes I have kids that are out late and stuff. And well, sometimes I'm just saying to my husband, he does not go to bed as early as I do. And I'll say, can you please just make sure they get in just so that we know, and the doors are locked and all that kind of stuff. But, I'm just like, okay, I need to get to bed. And I find that I am in a better frame of mind the next day. Also, when you think about it as a job, it might require other things in your life to revolve around your homeschool. Just like when you worked an 8 to 4:30, you didn't plan on going to the grocery store. You didn't set up a maybe Target pickup at 11 o'clock a.m. You didn't do that because you couldn't do that because you were at work. You set it for maybe 4:45 or 5 o'clock p.m. because then you would swing by after work and pick it up. Same thing when it comes to your homeschool. Your life in different seasons might need to revolve around your homeschool. I did this for many, many years. I mean, think about nap time. I had kids that would not nap if we went out anywhere. And if they did not nap, you did not want to be around my children. And so we were home for many, many years in the afternoon. Our days, our life revolved around being home for nap time. And maybe that's not your personality, but that just is what worked for us. Everybody was much happier if specifically my older son, he definitely needed a nap. And there was no way he took naps until he was like 5.5, I think. He doesn't sleep much anymore, but I wasn't going to be able to carry a 4.5-year-old around while he was sleeping at the grocery store. So our life kind of revolved around that. And same with coming to homeschool. I had a lot of friends that did not homeschool. And I decided not to go to, maybe they were getting together for a breakfast or brunch or going shopping in the morning. Well, I had my kids and I was doing homeschool, and that was the priority. The rest of our life revolved around that. It will not last forever. I promise you it won't, but I can also promise you that it is worth it. So if you want to be a successful homeschool mom, think about this as your job. And I really hope and pray that that changes the mindset, the way that you're approaching it and you're thinking of it, and it helps you to take it more seriously. And it will lead to success, I promise. If you are ready to join Reimagine Your Homeschool and take all of this to the next level and actually get those goals and figure out family culture and where you're going with all of this and to have direction, you're going to want to get over to Reimagine Your Homeschool. You can get information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/reimagine. I cannot wait to see you over there, but hurry up. You got to do it before next Friday. Friend, thank you for joining me today, and Happy New Year.